For decades, Area 51 has been the absolute ground zero for all things aliens, right? Crash saucers, secret autopsies, you know the stories. But what if I told you the real declassified story is about a different kind of alien technology? We're talking about machines built by humans that were so far beyond their time, they might as well have been from another planet. This right here is the real story of America's most secret base.
So, what is the real secret? For over 50 years, the answer to that question was literally a state secret. It was hidden away in documents so sensitive that government censors just blacked out everything. The US government didn't even officially admit the base existed until 2013. Think about that for a second. But now, the story is finally coming out. Thanks to a whole bunch of declassified CIA histories, we can finally pull back the curtain on what was really going on at Area 51. And let me tell you, it's a story of Cold War spies, unbelievably advanced aircraft, and pilots who were pushing the absolute limits of what a human being can endure. The truth here is way more incredible than any fiction. Okay, so to really get why Area 51 was even created, we have to rewind the clock. We're going back to the early 1950s. The Cold War is in full swing, and the United States is basically flying blind. They have no idea what's happening inside the Soviet Union. How many bombers do they have? Where are their nuclear sites? And while trying to find out, was getting people killed. You see, the standard spy planes they were using to try and peek behind the Iron Curtain were getting hunted down. Between just 1950 and 1952, at least 4 American reconnaissance planes were shot down by Soviet fighters. This wasn't just risky anymore. These were becoming suicide missions. So the problem was huge. The US desperately needed to see what the Soviets were up to, but they couldn't risk a plane getting shot down and maybe, just maybe, kicking off World War III. They needed something totally new, a radical new way to gather intel, something that could just fly right over all the danger. So, what do? Well, President Eisenhower authorized a top-secret project. He gave it to the CIA and to Lockheed's legendary and super-secretive design group, the Skunk Works. And the mission was simple, but it was almost impossible. Build a plane that can fly so high that no Soviet fighter, no missile could ever touch it. And what they came up with was the U-2. It was nicknamed the Angel because it was designed to fly at the very edge of space. This machine was built for one thing, and one thing only, to fly higher than any other plane on the planet. And this table really shows you just how bonkers the U-2's design was. I mean, to get to 70,000 feet, it had to be unbelievably light. It had just one engine, these super long glider-like wings. It had zero armor, zero weapons. It was basically this fragile, delicate racehorse designed to just outrun danger by flying way above it. Now, a plane this secret couldn't just be tested at any old airbase, right? The CIA searched all over the country for the most remote, isolated spot they could possibly find. And they found it in the Nevada desert on the edge of a dry lake bed called Groom Lake. Now, to make it sound a little more inviting to the people who had to work there, they jokingly called it Paradise Ranch. Of course, we know it as Area 51. So they had the plane, they had the secret base. Now they just needed the pilots. And flying the U-2, well, it wasn't just a job. It was an absolute ordeal. It pushed the human body to its breaking point in an environment more hostile than the deepest parts of the ocean. Get this, missions could last over 9 hours. Before they even took off, pilots had to breathe pure oxygen for 90 minutes just to avoid getting the bends. They were sealed into a full-body pressure suit. They ate special food. And just in case the worst happened, some were even offered an L pill, a cyanide pill. In fact, one pilot, Carmine Vito, almost ate his by mistake. He thought it was a lemon drop he liked to suck on during flights. And here it is. This is exactly where all the alien myths really come from. The CIA couldn't tell people what these strange lights in the sky were, so when people would report them, the Air Force would just chalk it up to natural phenomena, while they were secretly checking the U-2 flight logs to see if it was one of theirs. The secret was literally hiding in plain sight. To really get the UFO connection, you have to put yourself in the shoes of an airline pilot back in, say, 1957. You're cruising along at your maximum altitude, which back then was only about 20,000 feet. You feel like you're on top of the world. And then you see it. A little glint of sunlight off a silver object, 50,000 feet above you, moving faster than you can believe. Manned flight isn't supposed to exist up there. You have absolutely no idea what you're looking at. You've just seen a U-2, but the only thing you can call it is an unidentified flying object. So, for 4 years, the U-2 program was this incredible success.
It gave the U.S. its first real look at the Soviet threat. The Angel seemed invincible, totally untouchable. But on May 1st, 1960, everything was about to change. A Soviet surface-to-air missile did the impossible. It reached that incredible altitude and brought Francis Gary Power's U-2 crashing to the ground. The invincible Angel had fallen. The whole thing created a massive global crisis, and it proved a terrifying new truth. Flying high wasn't good enough anymore. Now they needed to fly higher and impossibly faster.
So it was back to Area 51, back to the drawing board for the Skunk Works team. And what they came up with next just ripped up the rulebook. It was the A-12, codenamed Oxcart. The difference is just mind-blowing. The U-2 was subsonic. The A-12, it flew at over Mach 3. That's more than 2,200 miles per hour, faster than a rifle bullet.
This thing was so fast and flew so high that its skin, which was made mostly of titanium, would heat up to over 550 degrees Fahrenheit. The pilots had to wear what were basically spacesuits. This wasn't just an airplane anymore. It was practically a spaceship that flew in the atmosphere. It was, without a doubt, the most advanced aircraft ever built.
Now, eventually, spy satellites would take over the job of looking down from above. But the technologies that were invented in total secrecy at Area 51 for the U-2 and the A-12 programs, well, they fundamentally changed the world. So when you boil it all down, Area 51's real secret wasn't hiding aliens. It was inventing the future. The intel they gathered helped America navigate the most dangerous parts of the Cold War. The work they did on radar signatures, that pioneered stealth technology. The cameras were revolutionary, and those life support systems were direct ancestors of the ones NASA's astronauts would use to go to the moon. Think about it. The real story of the U-2 and the Oxcart took nearly 50 years to come out. It just goes to show you that sometimes the truth isn't just stranger than fiction, it's locked away in a vault. Which really makes you wonder, what other secrets are still out there, just waiting for someone to turn the key?